Thank you, Maurice. Thanks, Vai. I'm Ajay Nair. I'm an associate professor and extension vegetable specialist here at Iowa State University in the Department of Horticulture. Primarily work with commercial vegetable growers and was fortunate to lead one of the NIFA OREI grant on organic production, where we looked at integration of vegetable and poultry. Maurice was part of it, University of Kentucky, and many of the people here, Faye, Arlene, and they're all part of that grant. And so this is, as Maurice mentioned, an extension of that. And we are very happy to have Anne with us, because Anne is going to really help us disseminate the information which we have. So we are very happy about that. There were many grad students that participated in the previous grant, which is still going on. And as Maurice mentioned, we will be providing more information on different topics that we learned from the past project. And I'm really happy to be here at this first workshop for this BFRDP grant. Thank you. So can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Good. Okay, perfect. Again, thank you for having me. Thanks, Maurice and Faye and Anne and folks, Victor from Kentucky. You know, this is a joint grant which we were all part of. So thank you for having us. Iowa State part of it. So today, in the 15-20 minutes I have, the objective is to introduce this concept of integrating poultry with vegetable production systems. The research which we conducted here was on organic systems. You can see that picture at the background where we have these chicken tractors, and I'll talk more about it. But the overall objective is to at least expose you to some of the concepts and some of the challenges and some of the benefits which we have when we integrate vegetables and poultry. So if we think of agriculture nowadays, mostly it's very disintegrated, and not in a negative sense. I'm just saying disintegrated because that's what maybe makes sense for the growers. You know, many of the conventional farms, not organic, but more of the conventional farms, focus on few crops, or they might be just focusing on poultry or just on beef production or egg production. There are very few farms, at least I can speak for here in Iowa, that are integrated, which means that they have multiple enterprises running at the same time. So it's either vegetable, they might have vegetable in different forms, maybe in high tunnels, open field, but never there is an overlap between animals and our vegetable cropping system. There are reasons for that, and I will mention that. Because of this specialized agriculture, there are issues. We talk about pollution, we talk about soil organic matter loss and erosion because of this intensive tillage that takes place in these vegetable systems. If you think of the poultry system, if it's an isolated system by itself, they're for either for egg laying or for broiler, there's a lot of manure that comes out of those systems, and then oftentimes these bigger enterprises find it difficult to spread this manure in a farm or around the farm. So there are challenges in both those systems, with too much of manure that is generated, and how to balance it well with the current production system. And also, if you think of intensified vegetable production systems, we use a lot of synthetic fertilizers, especially in conventional systems. And if you talk about organic systems, maybe not as intensive and definitely no synthetic fertilizer, but there are inputs that are involved in organic systems, and they are in the form of organic fertilizers. Which is okay, great for the soil, great for the crop. But if you look in terms of pricing or the cost which a grower pays in terms of per pound of nitrogen in those products, they are exceptionally high. So how can we close that loop and try to integrate poultry into vegetable system where the poultry can provide the manure, and that way help with soil fertility and many other benefits such as pest management? And is there an option for the grower to sell that broiler as a pastured poultry or an organic a product? So that's what we evaluated here in the project which is running here at Iowa State. So there is disintegrated agriculture. How can we integrate it? That's the question here. So there is research out there a lot about crop and livestock integration. And when I say livestock, there are, cattle, especially in Iowa, there are many growers who would do that. They have found, and many other research studies have found, that when you integrate cattle into agronomic crops, so this is more pasture-based, but maybe more corn soybean based or small grains, where they see an increase in total carbon and nitrogen in the soil. When you have crop and livestock integrated, we see increase in crop yield, improvement in soil properties such as the aggregate stability, better biology in the soil. But oftentimes, when you think about integrating of these bigger animals in horticultural crops, so when I say horticulture, primarily vegetables, there are issues because, again, we don't want either the cattle to eat the vegetable crop or later on create issues for our production systems, especially when it comes to pathogens. That's the big worry when we talk about integration of animals into vegetable cropping systems. Also, big animals, there could be compaction-related issues. They have a limited area. We have a grower with us, and Thili, you mentioned about smaller systems. So we have small plots. So how can we integrate small animals? So that's why we looked at poultry integration, because that is still doable. I'm not saying it's easy, it's still doable, and we are finding out ways how to make it easy for our growers. So that brings us to poultry in organic and pasture systems. As we all know, there are concerns over conventional production, and that's why the organic is much into play. In Iowa, we have several organic growers I work with who are strictly organic, and they are also not completely integrating poultry into vegetables, but we are trying to help them to think that through, of what are some of the bottlenecks, what are some issues which we can handle or address that will make it easy and seamless for you to integrate. We have the National Organic Program regulations. So if you go in detail and read about those regulations, you will see that they talk about a closed loop system. They want the animal and plant integrated systems rather than just a silo of organic animals or organic vegetables. Of course, the cost of production is in the play here for the grower. The integration has to make sense economically for them to incorporate that or embrace that. And of course, the animal welfare aspect of things too. When you go to buy pastured poultry at farmers market, definitely the farmers are getting, or growers are getting, a higher price. And because there's an animal welfare component that is built in these systems. So how can we leverage that? That this is grown organically, not only the poultry is organic, but they were in pastured poultry system. And because of that, these are the benefits which our system received. Maybe less amount of organic fertilizer put because the manure was recycled in, and better pest management capabilities in those systems. And just to show you the growth of the organic broilers, 1992, 63,000 birds, but over 19 million in 2017. So there's a huge growth in broiler chickens that are raised organically. Poultry manure is well established and very frequently used in horticultural crops. The manure has all the 13 essential plant nutrients, which means it has the nitrogen, it has a higher amount of nitrogen as compared to some other organic sources, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium, many of those micronutrients such as boron, manganese, iron, molybdenum. So it's well established that these manure work well. And many of the traditional organic fertilizers which we buy are primarily dehydrated chicken manure. Products such as Sustain is a good example of that. It's the chicken manure which is dehydrated, which is pelleted so that you can easily spread it. If you spread just the manure, there are definitely volatilization risks as compared to applying a fertilizer. But again, with a fertilizer, the cost of fertilizer is high. It's going up. So the cost is, how can we keep that cost down for organic growers? Of course, pea runoff is a concern when you have manure on the ground, and if there's erosion or there's rain, that manure can run off and then it will lead to a phosphorus runoff. So there are some challenges there too, just to acknowledge them. But what the literature tells us is that incorporating poultry manure, we have seen increase in crop yield, in plant biomass, higher solubility than the ruminant animal manure. So that's another thing. You're having these small animals such as chicken incorporated. We have seen improved aggregate stability and water infiltration, which means whenever there's a rain event, there is more water that is infiltrating into the ground and more available to our plants. It reduces bulk density, so less compaction, and has definitely shown to increase soil moisture retention. So several benefits of incorporating poultry manure. So when you think of integrative systems, primarily when we talk about integrating poultry and crops, there are systems in agroforestry and orchard base where you might have chickens running around in an orchard system, eating drop fruits that have fallen or insect pests that are there. When we here from Iowa State and Kentucky were at California, this is last October, Maurice and their team took us to the was it Full Belly Farms, Maurice? Was that the name of the farm?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, and they had those chickens running in those orchards, so we saw that system out there. But in vegetable integration, where you have vegetables growing, we have seen increase in nitrogen, phosphorus, cation exchange capacity, more organic matter, more increased and active carbon pool in the soil. But oftentimes, the first thing the grower asks, vegetables and poultry, how will that work? I mean, isn't there issues with food safety risk? And so I will show you some examples of how that can be done. And in the later workshop, we'll build on that. We'll talk more about that in detail. So what are the potential areas of impact when you integrate poultry? So as a grower, if you plan on integrating poultry, we are definitely focused on vegetable performance. Like when you integrate poultry in a vegetable cropping system, what does it do to our vegetable crops? What does it do to our crop rotation? Does the yield of the vegetable go up in successive cycles? Are we getting the benefit of having the manure in there? What about the bird performance? So if you're integrating poultry into vegetable system, what about the poultry itself? Is it helping them in terms of enhancing its meat quality? Is it helping in terms of welfare, that they have an open space to run around and be happy, which is a foundation for the organic systems? How does it change the soil properties? Are we only seeing increasing these nutrients, or are we seeing those benefits which we talked about, like the infiltration and organic matter and carbon pool? Pest management. These birds, when they are out there, they are constantly pecking. They're picking insect pests and maybe beneficial insects too from the soil. So what does the presence of a poultry in a plot does to the population of both the beneficial insects and the harmful insects? So we need to focus on that as well. And of course, the big thing that comes into the mind is the microbial contamination. Think about E. coli, you think about Salmonella, and I know Maurice is going to speak about that after me here, but that is something which we evaluated in this project that is running, and we are very happy. And maybe in the future workshops, we'll bring some of those results out and talk about what did we found in those systems. What was the population of E. coli when you have poultry in a system versus no poultry in that system? And of course, the economic analysis. For the grower, it has to absolutely work out in order for them to be comfortable of incorporating vegetables and poultry. So in that context, I'm just going to briefly introduce this. I'm not going to talk in detail about it today, but one of the ways which growers in Iowa have incorporated, and even Kentucky and California, we did these experiments where we had these chicken tractors that were built at each of these universities individually. And these are tractors that will roll over the ground, roll over the plot, where you can see those wheels there. That makes it easy for those chicken tractors to be moved around in the vegetable plot, so that the poultry manure is spread evenly. This is a design which we developed here at Iowa State. If you want to see it more closely, this is what it looks like. This is a 10x5 system, so 10 feet long, 5 feet wide, and we have 25 birds in there, so about 2 square feet per bird. And this is what the chicken tractor will look like in the midst of a growing season. This is in one of our plots with those red ranger birds in there. So I feel like when we talk about integration, growers often think of chicken tractors. Okay, is that way? And for many growers, small scale growers, this is a great way because it's a protected system. The birds are protected. You don't have to worry about coyotes or any minks or other animals that can be dangerous to your poultry. It's fully covered. They are safe, and we move around. You do see we put a fence out there, but just that is as an additional safety. But these tractors can be moved around on a daily basis so that you can spread the manure, and within 6 weeks, 6 to 9 weeks, you have the bird ready to be slaughtered. Now, when you think of integration, what are these birds doing when you integrate them? So just to show you, go back here quickly. Okay, this is a broccoli plot here in Iowa. This is about 3 or 4 years back. So once we harvested our broccoli, you can see all the heads are gone. We still have a lot of residue left over in the field. Now, this is how all this project started. We started thinking, how can we maybe can we introduce poultry in here and they will eat this, whatever they can eat. And so after our harvest, we went and we just we just chopped the bottom of these broccoli plants, and they just left on the ground. And then we introduced those chicken tractors, which I showed you before. So could the chicken tractors and the chicken be utilized to clean up a plot after a vegetable is done? So you see how we are integrating. We are integrating the poultry into a vegetable system, not when the vegetable is growing, but after the vegetable has been harvested. So we minimize any of the risk that it could bring in terms of contamination. So a broccoli crop harvested, chopped, and then the poultry, the chicken tractor goes over it. So that's one way of incorporating. Finish your vegetable crop, followed by the poultry. The second way of integrating poultry into your cropping system could be, okay, you had vegetable, and then maybe after the vegetable, you put in a cover crop. And in this case, we have cowpea and teff as a cover crop. You can see the cowpea voraciously growing. It's about maybe 50 or 60-day old cover crop. And then we introduce the chicken tractor on top of this cover crop. And every day we keep it moving. You can see in this picture, this is the new left-hand side is the new cover crop when the poultry is just being introduced. And on the right-hand side is when the poultry has gone over it once. So you can see these birds do colossal damage. They stamp things down, they peck around, they eat insects, they eat leaves, they stem. But this could be, this is kind of a pastured poultry, but there was a pasture, and you introduce your chicken tractor with the chickens in there. So that's the second way of incorporating the chickens, is that you have established pasture and you introduce the chickens. And many of the growers would do that. Now, in this case, they are still broiler. So the two examples I showed you were broiler. A few other examples, just to show you what it looks like. So you can see these are the birds inside that chicken tractor. And this is a video which one of our collaborators, Dr. Liz Bobek, shared with us. So you can see what the activity of the birds look like. You can see them constantly digging in there, and they could be pests that they're eating, and they're doing their normal behavior. They're happy out there. And we do have to provide supplemental food. So you can see that basket hanging, the food hanging back there, because the pasture is not enough. So we need to supplement food, but hopefully not a lot, because they can get some of that from the natural environment. So some other ways. This is at a farm here in Iowa. This is Jordan Klassen from Earlham, Iowa. It's close to Des Moines. And the way Jordan incorporates chickens in his vegetable system is that this is a 4 to 6 month rotation. And these are not broilers, but these are layers. These are egg laying. So he would mark off a plot. So this is about 100 feet long plot, about, I would say, 50 feet wide, so 100 by 50. And he puts his chicken tractor, a larger chicken tractor that doesn't move. It just sits there. And each of these chicken tractor, you have one at the back here. You can see one up here too. Each of them will hold about 250 to 300 birds. And they are, fenced. You can see the fence around. And this chicken tractor will sit there for about 4 to 6 months. And these chickens will just go out and just eat, and consume whatever is there. There is supplemental food inside here. They will spread the manure in this larger area. Again, they are here for about 4 to 6 months. That chicken tractor doesn't move. And so if Jordan is doing this in the month of June, let's say June or July, and the chicken tractor stays there for 6 months or 5 months, and then what he would do is in December, he would move the chicken tractor to the next location. So just maybe right next to it. So he would just move the chicken tractor here and then fence that area. And then this area stays like this in the winter, but in the spring, he will go and plant his vegetable crop in this particular plot. So now what he's trying to do is he's trying to utilize some of the fertilizer, some of the manure that was spread by these layer chickens in the last 6 months, and then grow his vegetable there. so he can cut down on the amount of fertilizer in these plots. So he will just keep moving his chicken tractors every 4 to 6 months to different locations and follow up with a vegetable crop once they have been moved over. So that's another way of incorporating chickens in your vegetable cropping system. Another farmer, this is Jordan Klassen. He does very similar things. This is Anne, my grad student. We were out there to collect some samples, but this is the same concept. Jordan's plots are smaller. They are about, I would say, about 100 feet, and by 30 feet or 40 feet, you can see his chicken tractor there. Chickens are right in front of it. They roam around. So he will cover this. He will fence this area for maybe about 4 months, and then he will move the chicken tractor to this big chicken tractor to another location and do the same thing. So if you look at closer, you can see these chickens. They're moving around and they're eating and then spreading the manure. One of the challenges, or maybe the a result of this system, is that the chicken manure is more concentrated where the chicken tractor is, or the chicken house, this big house is, because most of the birds spend most of the time close to it. They do go around and scavenge, and they spread the manure in places around, but there's a bit more concentration of that fertilizer right underneath the chicken tractor. So that is more commonly seen here, because the farmer might not have enough time to go and move the chicken tractor every day or every other day. This might be a middle ground where you put it in one place 4 months, forget about that, and then next 4 months you move it to a different location. So you keep moving it around, and in those locations you grow your vegetables in the next season. So just a quick intro here, as I think I'm out of time here, but I hope I was able to provide a quick intro about what integration would look like in small scale production systems. Definitely want to thank all the collaborators of the previous grant who helped us. Anne Bayer has joined us now for this grant, so from National Center for Appropriate Technology. Thanks, Anne, and several other people involved in this grant. Who helped us collect some of the information, which we will present in the coming webinars, in the coming workshops. So this is just an intro. This is just a start. We will talk about pest management. We'll talk about food safety things. We'll talk about meat quality as we roll more of these workshops. So with that, I'll be more than happy to answer questions.